Alright guys, welcome to part 3 of the fall semester exam review. This is going to cover number 17 through the end of the review. If you need to see any of the previous problems, please refer to part 1 or part 2. Let's get started. Number 17 is asking us to solve x squared minus 4x minus 7 is equal to 0. So we are already equal to 0, which is great. Love it. Awesome. This is not factorable. There is not a set of factors where negative 7 is factors of negative 7 that are going to get us a negative 4. So we've already covered graphing, so we're going to go ahead and try the quadratic equation. So that is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So I'm going to identify a, b, and c in my equation. A in this case is 1, b is the negative 4, and c is the negative 7. So taking these numbers, plugging them into my quadratic equation, negative b is actually going to be a positive 4, because the negative of a negative is positive. 4 plus or minus, that is going to be negative 4 squared. We need to make sure we put that in parentheses. Minus 4 times 1 times negative 7, and all of this is over 2 times 1. Now we need to simplify this. This is going to be 4 plus or minus the square root. Negative 4 squared is 16. It's a positive 16. And then we're going to do negative 4 times 1 times negative 7. We get a positive 28. So this is actually going to be plus 28. And all of this is over 2. 28 plus 16 gets me 44. So this is going to be 4 plus or minus the square root of 44 over 2. Now, 44, while it is positive, we can take square root of it. We are not going to get a whole number because it is not a perfect square. So what we're going to do is we are going to split this into 4 over 2 plus or minus the square root of 44 over 2. And we're going to simplify that 4 over 2. So that is going to be just a 2. And it's going to be plus or minus the square root of 44 over 2. And that is going to be as simplified as we can get with the quadratic equation because we can't take the square root of 44 and get a whole number. So keep in mind of this that you may have a question where your answer choices look like this. Looking at 18, it's asking us to simplify the following. So this is all the way back from the first 6 weeks, so refer to your notes if you don't remember. But we're going to take this first polynomial and we're going to subtract this second polynomial. Since we're subtracting, I'm going to take this negative and just distribute it to all of my terms in this second polynomial. And so we're going to have x cubed plus 5x minus 3, because that stayed the same. Taking the negative of this first term is going to be minus 3x cubed. Instead of negative 2x squared, we're going to have plus 2x squared. That 5x is going to become minus 5x, and then that's going to become minus 2. And from here, we're just going to combine our like terms. So we have an x cubed and a negative 3x cubed. Combining those together, we are left with a negative 2x cubed. Next, we're going to look for the x squared. There is nothing over here. We only have this 2x squared, so it's just going to drop down and be plus 2x squared. We have a 5x and a negative 5x. Those actually cancel, because 5 minus 5 is 0. And then negative 3 minus 2 is actually going to be minus 5. So this is going to be my final equation. We simply distribute the negative, combine like terms. This is what we're left with. 19 is asking us something similar. It's asking us to simplify, but we are multiplying these together. So since these are both binomials, I'm going to use the distributive property. Y'all might have learned this as FOIL back in the day, is what we might have mentioned it as. So I'm going to start with my first term, x squared, and I'm going to distribute it to my first. F stands for first. So x squared times 2x is going to give me 2x cubed. Then I'm going to take x squared and distribute it to negative 7, so that's going to get me negative 7x squared. Then I'm going to take the 3, because we're done with the x squared, the 3 times 2x, and we're going to get plus 6x. Then I'm going to take the 3, multiply it by negative 7, and I'm going to get minus 21. Now from here, if we had any like terms, we would want to combine these together, but we have no like terms, so we are actually good as is. This is going to be my final answer. But remember, if you had like terms, you would need to combine those. Looking at number 20, it's asking us to solve this absolute value. So since my absolute value is by itself, I just need to write my other equation. So the 3x plus 2 is going to stay as is. Since this is an equal sign, we don't need to change it, but that 8 is now going to become negative. And we're going to solve each of these for x to get our two different solutions. So I'm going to start by subtracting 2. All right, we can do the same steps on both. So we're going to get 3x is equal to 8 minus 2 is 6 on this one. This one is going to be 3x is equal to negative 8 minus 2 is negative 10. Then I'm going to divide both by 3. Again, it's very convenient. We can do the same steps on both. So this is going to leave me with x. 6 divided by 3 is 2. So one of my answers is x equals 2. On this one, x is going to equal to, and then negative 10 over 3 doesn't simplify. You can write this as a decimal, but this would be a repeating decimal, so I recommend leaving this one as a fraction. But these are my two answers. X equals negative 2 and x equals negative 3. Number 21, this is similar to a problem we saw in part 2. We're going to rewrite an absolute value equation with these different transformations. So we remember that y is equal to a times absolute value of x minus h plus k. So I'm going to take these different transformations and plug them into their respective letter. So obviously it's still going to be y equals. We start with a vertical stretch by a factor of 3. So a vertical stretch is related to my a value. And that 3 is my a value. So this is going to be 3. And then we start our absolute value. We shift to the left 5. Now remember, h is to the opposite of what you would think. Moving to the left moves towards negative x values. So that means we're going to write that as x plus 5 because it's opposite of what we think it should be. And then that plus 8 is related to my k value. And k is straightforward. Up goes towards positive y, so this is going to be positive 8. And this is going to be my final solution. Looking at 22, it's asking us how this function has been changed in comparison to our parent function. Remember, the absolute value of x is the parent function for all absolute value equations. So the difference between my parent function and f of x is it's got a negative sign. So that negative sign means we have a reflection across the x-axis. Remember, we always reflect across the x-axis in this class. That 1/4, since that 1/4 is between 0 and 1, we're going to call this a vertical compression by 1/4. If our number right here was greater than 1, then it would be a stretch. But since it is between 0 and 1, that is a vertical compression by 1/4. 23 is very similar to what we just saw, except we have a greater than sign. So when we write my opposite equation, this is going to still be 2x plus 1. But we have to flip the inequality sign and the sign of the 3. We have to flip both. So I can still do the same steps. I can still subtract 1 on both of them. And I'm left with 2x. In this case, it's greater than 2. This one is going to be 2x is less than negative 4. I can divide both by 2. And this one is going to be x is greater than 1. Over here, we're going to have x is less than negative 2. So since these are going in opposite directions, I'm going to have to write this as x is greater than 1, or it is x is less than negative 2. I cannot combine these into one equation. And then we actually see up to 25. We forgot about 24. Oh well. So this is similar again to what we saw earlier. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to distribute this negative because we're subtracting. And the 3x minus 5, he's good as is. That negative 2x is going to become positive 2x squared. 7x is going to become negative. 6 is going to become positive. And let's combine our like terms. 2x is by himself, so that is still 2x squared. We have a 3x and a negative 7x. When we combine those together, we get a minus 4x. And then with minus 5, positive 6, we are left with a positive 1. And that, my friends, is my final answer. That is going to be the end of the fall semester exam review. If you have any other questions over any concept, please reach out to your teacher, study hard, and good luck on your semester exam.